He is the greatest manager of all time with 13 Premier League titles, 2 Champions Leagues and a legacy that transformed Manchester United from a crumbling giant into a global empire. Sir Alex Ferguson didn't just win, he cultivated a culture of winning that remained unbreakable for 26 years. Naturally, the world assumed his greatness was contagious. We thought his players, the generals who carried out his orders on the pitch, would be the next dominant wave of managers. They had the Fergie DNA, right? But look at the list. Roy Keane, Steve Bruce, Mark Hughes, Gary Neville, Paul Ince, Wayne Rooney and Solskjaer. Between them they have hundreds of medals as players. But as managers, it's a trail of sackings, tactical confusion, and what-ifs. Why is it that the greatest manager in history has struggled to produce a single world-class coaching successor? This is the Football General, and today we're doing a deep dive into the truth behind the Ferguson Paradox. To understand the failure of the students, we have to understand the evolution of the master. In the 1980s, Alex Ferguson was a coach. He was on the grass, blowing the whistle, and leading the drills. But by the mid-90s, he evolved into a director. He realized that to manage a club as big as United, he had to delegate. He brought in tactical brains, men like Brian Kidd, Steve McLaren, Carlos Queiroz and René Moulenstein. Fergie famously stopped leading training sessions. He would stand on the touchline, hands in his pockets, simply observing. Here is where the trap begins. When players like Roy Keane or Gary Neville were at their peak, they weren't seeing a coach at work, they were seeing a director. When these players got their first jobs, they tried to be the director on day one. They focused on culture, standards and discipline. But modern football has moved on. In the 2020s, you can't just be a manager, you have to be a tactical architect. While Pep Guardiola was obsessing over 4-3-3 with the Barcelona B team, Sir Alex's players were learning how to command a room. They had the leadership, but they lacked the modern tactical blueprint required to break down a low block. Next, the United way. Every former United player enters management talking about pace, power and attacking with flair. Take Solskjaer as the prime case study. Ole's United was devastating on the counter-attack, just like the team he played in, but there was a massive problem. In the modern era, even small teams have elite tactical setups. When opponents sat deep and refused to give United space, Ole's team often looked lost. The harsh truth, Ferguson's United way wasn't a philosophy. It was supported by the best players in the world who could solve problems instinctively. When you try to apply that free-flowing style to a mid-table squad, it collapses. Those players don't need a go-out-and-express-yourselves speech. They need specific instruction. Also, we can't talk about Sir Alex without mentioning the hairdryer. We've all heard the stories. Ferguson could peel the paint off the walls with his voice. Many of his hard men, Keane, Bruce, tried to replicate that intensity. Roy Keane's early success at Sunderland was built on a terrifying high-stakes environment, but intensity has an expiration date. What these managers missed was Ferguson's incredible emotional intelligence. He was a master of the hug and the hammer. He knew that while Peter Schmeichel needed a shout, Eric Cantona needed a quiet dinner and a glass of wine. In a modern dressing room filled with new generation athletes, the raging boss type is dead. You cannot lead by fear anymore. Managers like Keane often applied the intensity of a United captain to the manager's office. It works for 6 months, then the players burn out. While Sir Alex evolved his personality, his players often got stuck in the 1990s, and perhaps the biggest reason for their failure is the fast track. Because they are Fergie's fledglings, they get offered massive jobs before they've learned how to fail. Look at Wayne Rooney. Between Derby, DC United, Birmingham and Plymouth, Rooney has constantly been thrown into firefighting roles at volatile clubs. The Rooney brand gets him the job, but it doesn't give him the 3 years of quiet development he needs. Compare that to the modern elite. Xabi Alonso didn't go straight to Real Madrid. He spent years with Real Sociedad's B team. Mikel Arteta spent years as an apprentice to Pep. The United brand gives these legends a foot in the door, but it ensures their learning phase happens under a global microscope. Most managers are allowed to fail in the lower leagues where no one is watching. Ferguson's players have to fail on Sky Sports. Finally, we have to look at the difference between a management school and a tactical school. If you play for Pep Guardiola, you are learning a system of play that is transferable. If you play for Ferguson, you are learning how to be a winner. One of these is much easier to teach than the other. You can't teach someone to have Ferguson's aura. You can, however, teach someone how to rotate a midfield diamond. This is why the Cruyff lineage, which gave us Pep, Arteta and Alonso, is dominating. They left their master with a playbook. Ferguson's players left their master with a set of values. In today's environment, values without a playbook will get you sacked by Christmas. So is the curse permanent? Maybe not. We are finally seeing a shift. Michael Carrick, recently returned to Old Trafford, showed at Middlesbrough that he could be calm and tactical. Then there's Kieran McKenna at Ipswich, who, while not a Fergie player, was moulded by the United environment and is now one of the most highly rated tactical minds in the country. These guys are proving that to succeed you have to take Ferguson's winning mentality but discard his 1990s methods. You have to be a student of the game, not just a student of the man. Sir Alex Ferguson was a once-in-a-century genius. His greatest strength was his ability to adapt. Ironically, his former players' greatest weakness was often their refusal to do the same. They tried to be the gaffer, instead of learning the craft of coaching. What do you think? Is Michael Carrick the one to finally prove the Fergie's United works, or was Sir Alex simply a magician whose tricks died with his retirement? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.